you're abroad or whatever it is, and you can go and you can spend that, in Chile or whatever, and it does definitely help. But we know the easiest way of doing that, given what we know about the biological development of the brain in this crucial period of time. Now let's push on a little more about this, because this is the stage that Piaget was famous for exploring and showing. Even when these children have now learned a language, they still lack the brain functions that most of us take for granted, even pre-logical abilities. And here was probably the most famous experiment Piaget ever did, was to demonstrate what he called conservation, the lack of a pre-rational ability in these very young children, called conservation. And what he did was to play a little game with kids. This was his experiment. And he would take them and show them a glass of water, a long, skinny glass, like that. And the water would be filled up. And then what he would do is he'd take that water and pour it from this glass, this long, skinny glass, into this short, fat glass. Okay. And then he'd take the child and say, okay, watch this, Billy. Billy, watch. I'm pouring the water. Am I being really careful? Did I spill any water when I poured it into, let's say it goes all the way up here. Did I spill any when I poured it up? Okay, Billy, which one of those has more? When the water was here or there? It had more in the big one. Ball of clay, little ball of clay. Look, Billy, look. And put the clay, I stuck it right there, didn't I? What's this? I'm gonna squish that, squish. And you make a pancake. That little ball of clay now becomes a pancake like that one. Okay, Billy, which one of those had more? Let me ask you. I took this little ball of clay and I squished it right there and made that pancake. Which one is more? Exactly. People thinking, okay, don't tell me, I know it's a trick question. No, if I haven't added any and I haven't taken any away, it's the same. But Billy doesn't get it. How come? Brain damage? No, it's because of childhood to say, it just doesn't get it. Actually, there was an experience again with my daughter. I know this is obnoxious, but it's my kids, so you just have to listen to it. My daughter's first time going out trick-or-treating. So she was about 4 or 5 years old. We took her out trick-or-treating in the neighborhood, and of course she was adorable, she's my kid. And she got all kinds of candy. And she's stuffing herself like a pig. I'm letting her because I'm a bad dad. And I take her back home, and I said, okay, that's enough, Katie. It was Katie.
Please, Daddy, just one more.
No, Katie, I told you no.
Please.
Okay. I told you I was a bad dad. Okay, and she reaches into her bag, and she pulls out a set of Reese's peanut butter cups. There are 2 in there. Katie, you can have one of those.
Okay, Daddy.
And she opens it up, she takes one for herself, and then she hands me the other one. You can have this one, Daddy. Oh, thank you, sweet. And then she had a little plastic knife. She took her plastic knife, and she cut hers in 2 pieces. And she turned to me, she said,
I have more than you now, Daddy.
and I thought, oh, it's Piaget. What did I say? Oh, really? Then you should share. Oh, yeah, it's bad, yeah. Okay. That is an illustration of this concept called conservation. For her, given the ability to think of this child at this age, at this stage, she just didn't have the brain function, not enough memory, not enough K plugged into the computer to process a somewhat complicated thing that's something that looks like it's more ain't, even if you change the shape. Children of this age, we also know, tend to be highly egocentric. They think the world revolves around them, and that's not because that they're mean. It means that these kids are, well, just lacking the ability to take account of somebody else's feelings. You texting? No, your hand. Go. Okay. All right. Just checking. That was boredom, not texting. That's okay. We expect boredom. All right. So, children's egotism. I mean, they can do things to other little kids that seem horrible. It's not because they're, mean little kids It's not because they're possessed by Satan or something. It's just because they don't get the fact that other people have feelings like them. You ask Billy, Billy, do you have a brother? Yeah. Bobby. Bobby's a big kid. Billy's 5. Bobby's 12. Yeah. Bobby's a big kid. Oh, okay, Billy. Bobby's your brother? Okay. But how about, does Bobby have a brother? No. Well, what are you to Bobby?
I'm Billy.
He just can't put himself in it. You are to Billy as Bobby is to... What? Kid doesn't get it. When I was you guys' age, I was dating a girl. I'm only Italian. She was very nice, very sweet. But she told me that she was the oldest in her family. And she had a sister born when she was about 4 or 5 years old. She'd been an only child at that point. Her sister gets born. And they give her the baby to hold. He comes home from the hospital, and her name, my girlfriend's name is Wendy. Don't you want to kiss her? Mm-hmm. Don't you love your baby sister? Mm-hmm. About a month or two after the baby sister has come home, in the middle of the night, they find Wendy walking down the middle of the hallway carrying her baby sister. Sweetie, where are you going?
I'm taking Sally to the bathroom.
Why, sweetie?
I'm going to flush her down the toilet.
Now, is this because this child was demon seed? Spawn of Satan? No. No, of course not. What's going on is very typical for this age. Sibling rivalry. She'd been an only child. Baby comes home getting a lot of attention. I don't think so. Flush. Hi, baby. Well, that is very typical of children this age. They're very egocentric. But that also makes them vulnerable in a funny way. What we know is children who go through divorce at this stage suffer emotionally a great deal, because who do they tend to blame for the divorce?
Parents.
No, not the parents. Themselves. Because they're egocentric.
I caused Daddy to go away because I was a bad boy.
Yeah, all this stuff is important to take into account, because it has to do with brain processing and the function of the brain. Stage 3, the stage of concrete operations. Here, from about 7 years old to about 12. The child now gets the physical operations of the world. That's why Piaget calls it concrete stage of concrete operations. They understand. They become, an ability to have experience empathy takes place at this point as well. They feel other people's pain. They don't, they see other people crying. It bothers them, especially if they're attached to that person. They see somebody in pain. They get upset about it themselves, that kind of stuff. But they also just get this physical operation of the world. They don't mistake something that looks bigger for being war. You can pour water from one glass into the other. They get the fact that it's the same. But they still lack the crucial part of being human, what's called reasoning, at least deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is where you give somebody a set of particulars, they deduce the underlying relationship for those particulars, an underlying relationship, and then apply that to a situation they have not yet encountered. That's called deductive reasoning or abstract reasoning. Kids at this age don't get it, and the best place to see that is in their sense of morality. They get kind of the concrete physical world, but that's the kind of thought they're capable of. And their sense of morality reflects that. Okay, so let's say Billy is now 8 years old, 10 years old, in the stage of concrete operations. He's a good kid, and he's been taught. Mom has told him, sweetie, I don't want you eating any candy between meals. Okay, so he's a good kid, he gets that now. On another occasion, Mom has told him, I don't want you eating any cake between meals. And the third time, no pie either. All right. Those are 3 particulars. Can you deduce an underlying relationship between candy, cake, and pie?
Sugar.
Sugar. Okay, good. But Billy is very concrete. He gets the fact about candy. He gets the fact about cake. And if there is candy sitting on the counter and Mom's not around, does Billy take some? Probably not. But if he does he know he's done wrong, and does he try and cover it up? Rearrange the pieces of candy so Mom Oh yeah. But how about this? Mom's also not around this time, and he comes home, and there's no candy, there's no cake, there's no pie, but sitting on the counter is a dish of donuts. Never been said a thing about donuts. Does he take one? Why?
Doesn't know it's wrong.
Exactly. He does, and he doesn't know it's wrong. In this case, he'll take the donut. He's not going to hide the fact he took it. Mom walks in.
Hi, Mom. Want a bite?
Billy, I told you none of that kind of stuff.
No, you didn't. You told me about the candy. I didn't eat the candy.
But you should understand, young man, those are all sweet.
What? What?
In other words, he's just not getting it. How come? The computer is not sophisticated enough yet to process that information. The brain has not grown to the point it is now capable of processing that kind of thought. The child is still very concrete. All right, and then the final stage, the stage of formal operations. From adolescence on. And that's from 12 years old up. Here, children develop this deductive reasoning. As you saw, when I said cake, candy, pie, were you able to see an underlying relationship between those three? Yeah. That's called deductive reasoning. You see a similar trait inside of those, and would you now be able to apply it to a situation you never encountered before? Yes, that's what every biologically normal human being is capable of doing according to Piaget. That kind of deductive reasoning.
So basically seeing patterns?
Yeah, seeing patterns and then applying it to situations in which you've never encountered before, but you can see the same underlying condition that that makes it simpler. Seeing patterns, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's Piaget. Now, since Piaget, a couple things. One, Piaget has made us aware of what's called age-appropriate learning. You know, in the old days, if you still had that, you know, language acquisition reinforcement graph up here, the metaphor here is kind of like knowledge is like water poured into an empty vessel. The faster you pour the knowledge, the faster they learn it. That is, the faster you reinforce. No. Since Piaget, we realized there is age-appropriate learning. Just increasing the expectations and the rewards for learning does not necessarily increase a child's ability to learn. If you are trying to teach calculus to a 5-year-old, all you're going to do is turn them off to learning, because there is no way biologically they're able and are at the stage for what's called age-appropriate learning. So Piaget has suggested to us that we really need to be aware of what is appropriate at certain ages for children's learning. Okay, so Piaget, from language learning, we need to get earlier. There's a lot of implications from this study that has been very useful. And anybody, I forget in this class, who's taken psych already? Do you hear still to this day a lot about Piaget and psychology? Yeah, you sure do. The whole field of psychology, cognitive psychology, basically grows out of the work of Piaget.
So would you say children who are considered prodigies would just be achieving these at earlier times, or?
You could say. Usually what you'll find is that, you notice that there is a range of time here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not unusual to have somebody, not develop the ability to speak a language until 5-6 years old. It really varies. Some kinds have prodigy. What we know about, I think it was Einstein that didn't